Welcome Trinidad and Tobago to our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communication. I'm Joseph Lopez. Let's take a look at the headlines. The Prime Minister honors permanent secretaries and government ministers for their outstanding and meritorious service. The Ministry of Health hosts its 6th Executive Board meeting of the Caribbean Public Health Agency. And the Ministry of National Diversity holds its first Patriotism Fair. Hats off to permanent secretaries and government ministers for their outstanding and meritorious service over the years. These praises came during Prime Minister the Honourable Kamla Persad-Bissessa's feature address at the Diplomatic Centre, where the Honourable Persad-Bissessa held a luncheon to honour permanent secretaries and cabinet ministers in this festive season. For ministers and permanent secretaries, handling the nation's affairs is an enormous responsibility. However, the Prime Minister says she knows at times it can be overwhelming, but urged them to find the gratitude in the critical role they play in making positive difference in the lives of citizens.
God and the universe have brought you here to fulfill a particular outcome. I see it happening through the work of each of you, who carry out on your shoulders heavy responsibilities every single day of the year.
She recalls the challenges of the job.
You would have had those days when out in the night you've been working, you would have been dedicated, and your family members would be calling you. I remember a particular minister, when the phone rang when we were out in late meetings, they would hand the phone to me as Prime Minister, because it says the police calling. The police at home is calling. They just want to confirm that the minister is in fact in a meeting with the Prime Minister and other ministers. But it comes with the territory. And so every single day, all of you in this room, you're all, as I say, senior members of institutions of the government. I want to thank you for your dedicated service.
She made a plea for them to focus on the good they have achieved over the years.
It is the best answer to your detractors and your critics. As your Prime Minister, I say humbly, I don't just lead the cabinet. I closely follow your individual and our collective efforts. I know the challenges, but I equally know the dedication you have demonstrated to meet these challenges head-on.
The Prime Minister says she's proud to lead such a team and is grateful for all the hard work that they have done. She also paid tribute to the permanent secretaries.
You are indeed quiet heroes of a nearly and largely unacknowledged revolution of change sweeping our nation that history will honor in time to come in a way that we acknowledge openly today. And so my colleagues all, my support team, please accept my gratitude on my own behalf and on behalf of the nation, Trinidad and Tobago.
At the end of the function, Mrs. Persad-Bissessa showered the permanent secretaries and government ministers with gifts and tokens of appreciation. The process of ridding the streets of street dwellers has commenced. While the first installment of the project is a pilot one, Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honourable Glenn Ramadasing, says the project is as a result of partnering with the Psychiatric Association, religious organizations and various NGOs.
Over 200 persons living on the streets are expected to be relocated come Christmas. This as the Street Dwellers campaign was kicked off by the Ministry of the People and Social Development with the aim of ridding the streets of homeless persons. Minister Ramadasing says the aim is to provide proper care and support for all those in need by giving them a second chance through a rehabilitated life.
Poverty is what we see as our number one enemy, and we describe this as a war on poverty. And we believe that poverty is not a shame. Intending to remain in that state without a fight is shameful, and to give up that fight is disgraceful. So we see ourselves as being the facilitator, the fulcrum around which people, they will make that swing and come back into productive life.
It's proposed that a Riverside Complex car park will be transformed into a permanent venue for the housing of city's street dwellers. Supporting this initiative is Wayne Chance of Vision on a Mission, who says the facility will aid in the transforming of many lives.
As we know, many of the socially displaced persons had resided at Riverside Plaza for 10 and 15 years. This program intends to put programs in place that will help those individuals to be reintegrated back in society productively. And this is my contribution this afternoon. So I look forward for 2013 in terms of the opening of the assessment center that will aid in this great mission in cleaning the streets of Port of Spain and the country of street dwellers.
The minister notes while the project is a short-term one, a majority of the work will be completed by December 22nd. He adds that support will be provided through psychiatric care.
With this project, we have begun with the end in mind. This project is a short-term project that is part of a great strategy and effort to have no homeless person in Trinidad and Tobago. But it is in the first instance targeted for the Christmas season, the Yuletide season, the time when the Lord God was born, Jesus Christ. We will begin using the Salvation's Army compound to do assessment because our assessment, that vision and a mission is constructing, is not ready. We are then going to take persons who need support and help either to the psychiatric clinic when they leave here, the hospital, or to another facility where they will receive psychiatric care. That's a Transform Life ministry.
Statistics show that there are over 1,000 homeless persons across the country, while it's expected that 400 of these will be removed in the first series of this project. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, the first Patriotism Fair from the Ministry of National Diversity. Stay with us. Welcome back. Ministers of Health from across the Caribbean came together for the 6th Executive Board meeting of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, CAFA. The event took place at the Ministry of Health head offices, and addressing CARICOM Minister, Trinidad and Tobago's Minister of Health, Dr. the Honorable Fuad Khan, says the meeting is a demonstration of commitment to public health service. At this timely juncture of the establishment of CAFA, Minister of Health Dr. Fuad Khan says he is informed that this meeting marks the last Executive Board meeting before CAFA finally starts operating as an entity in January 2013. He notes that the government of Trinidad and Tobago is again pleased to be the host country of this meeting.
I also want to thank the Cabinet and my Prime Minister, the Honorable Kamala Prasad-Bisesa, for seeing the vision. When I presented the vision to her, and I indicated to the Prime Minister that, we need to host these meetings, and these meetings, I think, is going to be a future. I remember her words to me was, Dr. Khan, I've known you for about 15 years now, and you've always had this futuristic idea. Let's hope this one works out, and I think it might, work out this time. So she is committed to assisting the CARICOM region.
He says that land has been identified in the Cora Valley for the development of the building that will house CAFA.
And we have attached it onto our National Public Health Lab. So together we'll be able to have a double system involved, which will be our National Public Health Lab as well as our CAFA lab. I want to thank PAHO for giving us the consultant to work with to design that lab, to design the whole thing.
The new agency will become fully operational in 2015 and will provide a collective response to public health emergencies. It will also provide ongoing public health development needs for the people of the Caribbean, which is expected to rationalize the Caribbean regional public health services.
The mission of CAFA, as you said, is to provide a strategic direction in analyzing, defining, and responding to public health priorities of CARICOM in order to prevent disease, promote health, and respond to public health emergencies. As we are quite aware, as well as doctors and parts of the ministries of health of the different islands and countries, public health is a major problem, and in most countries. I am a specialist by trade, which is a urologist, and we tend to look at very, very specialized areas of medicine. And we tend to forget that there's a larger body of the population out there that is public health problems.
The minister adds that Trinidad and Tobago, as a proud CARICOM member, remains steadfast in its commitment to the creation of CAFA. Early next year, with the continued support of PAHO through the United Nations Office for Project Services, he says, they are having the design and costing for the CAFA facility completed with a target date of March 2013. Ministry of National Diversity and Social Integration launched its first Patriotism Fair at the Branlower Promenade. The fair gave citizens a chance to learn of the many facets of their culture, as well as the agencies with the responsibility of promoting it. Minister of National Diversity and Social Integration, the Honorable Clifton Dikoto, says it is part of their year-long patriotism campaign.
In an effort to promote greater cohesiveness among citizens, the National Diversity Ministry took to the streets of Port of Spain their first social integration patriotism fair. It's part of the mandate of the ministry to promote patriotism and unity among all citizens. Minister of National Diversity and Social Integration Clifton Dikoto says the fair seeks to educate youngsters about our culture and what being Trinbagonian means.
Today is indeed a celebration from whence we came, who we were, who we are, of what we represent, and of all the wonder and hope which live in our hearts. Today, when all things Trinbagonian are lifted and showcased as reminders to every passersby, every child here today, every citizen who enters the patriotic fair, remind us that only one thing matters. We are all born of these soils. We are all called to this great nation our home. We are each other's brothers and sisters.
Booths are set up by various agencies charged with the promotion of local heritage and culture, giving the public a chance to find out more of their country's rich diversity. Minister Dikoto says becoming aware of one's culture will foster a greater appreciation of the nation.
This forum would seek to inculcate a sense of belonging, a reminiscent gesture of our struggles, our rich and colorful history, a sense of national pride and citizenry, and a better understanding of what we can be to our nation, to our fellow men.
He adds that the fair will seek to promote the branding of local culture, something he describes as economic patriotism.
Today, we'll have on display our diverse natural and cultural heritage in the forms of song, dance, art, food, clothing, folk, character, and national heroes in an empowering forum. We will aim to promote public awareness and encourage public support for the work of community and national service organizations. We will promote economic patriotism through brand awareness of goods and services by local companies and entrepreneurs.
Earlier this year, the ministry hosted its Patriotism Month, which is also part of the series of events in its campaign aimed at fostering national pride. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
Up next, a toast to life from the Ministry of the People. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Minister of the People and Social Development, Dr. the Honorable Glenn Ramadasing, says while reducing the number of persons infected with the HIV and AIDS virus remains a challenge, strides continue to be made. Speaking at a World AIDS Day commemoration event held in remembering the life of Catherine Williams, local HIV and AIDS activist, Minister Ramadasing says the fight must continue in decreasing the level of stigma and discrimination association living with the virus.
Recent statistics show that over 22,000 persons are infected with the HIV/AIDS virus, a number that continues to grow. It's this reason Social Development Minister Dr. Glenn Ramadasing says greater focus is needed in reducing the infection rate among young girls. He was speaking at a World AIDS Day commemoration event held in remembering the life of Catherine Williams, local HIV/AIDS activist who passed away in 2011. Minister Ramadasing notes while reducing these numbers remain a challenge, he commends the work of such loyal activists.
20% of our young persons are affected by forced sexual debut. 20% of our young people forced sexual debut. Young women in particular are subject to pressures for intergenerational sex and sometimes transactional sex. Approximately only 5% of the population have been tested for HIV. These, my friends, are the shocking facts that you, those who work tirelessly, and in some cases, and in many cases without praise and thanks, face on a daily basis. Therefore, it tells us of the amount of work that there is to do.
Minister in the Ministry of the People and Social Development, Vernella Allen Toppin, says the issue of the HIV/AIDS virus is one affecting multiple generations, as children often become orphaned after parents die from the disease.
Our figures show that HIV/AIDS is a multi-generational illness because in many cases where parents become infected and die, grandmothers step in to become the primary caregivers for AIDS-orphaned children. Another important issue is that a significant number of people living with HIV are often subject to neglect, gender-based violence, and physical abuse, positioning them at risk for mental health illness like depression.
But Minister Ramadasing notes that the UN's designation of 2012 as a year for the countdown to zero is even more possible today as strides continue to be made in the fight of the disease in the medical world.
Back in those early years, few could have imagined this day, that we would be looking ahead to the beginning of the end, marking World AIDS Day. That has gone from that early beginning when people were still uncertain to a time when we now say, let's go to zero. Few could have imagined that we would have been talking about the real possibility of an AIDS-free generation. But that's what we are talking about now. That's where we are. That's where we have arrived. And we have arrived here because all of you and your unwavering belief that we will beat this disease.
The event, A Toast to Life, brought together men and women Catherine Williams interacted with during her lifetime. Minister Ramadasing says her advocacy was one that made an impact on how persons living with the HIV/AIDS virus in Trinidad and Tobago view the disease.
A spirit will live on in our hearts, but a good work will live on in our efforts to end stigma and discrimination today and in the years to come.
Several NGOs and agencies were awarded during the course of the function for their noted efforts in the care and support of persons living with the virus. Kimberly Ramkalawan, News 4.
When we come back, Christmas with the TTIA. Welcome back. Another Christmas party, and this time at Roscoe's on Ariapita Avenue. The Trinidad and Tobago Institute of Architects celebrated Christmas in style at the venue and launched its diary and source book for 2013. Celebrating the festive season and achievements in the shadows of Roscoe's, members of the Trinidad and Tobago Institute of Architects, TTIA, had much to be thankful for. But it wasn't an easy year, one in which brought many challenges. However, the president of TTIA, Jennifer Smith, says they have so much to be thankful for.
This year has been quite a challenging year for many of us. I'm sure a lot of people in the room have worked very, very hard this year on many, many proposals. I'm not sure how many contracts have been awarded from those many proposals, but we are hoping that in 2013 will be a brighter year for us.
Ms. Smith says for the first time of TTIA's Christmas party, its members were asked to bring in their work to be projected on the walls.
If you haven't had the chance already, I do hope that you go out and have a look. I think it's a testament to the professionalism and the creative ability of local professionals. I think that we want to keep pushing the things that we can do locally here in Trinidad and Tobago.
The Institute believe the only way to compete is to convince persons of what it can do.
The fact that we have the expertise to do it and the creativity to do it.
Apart from the party, eats and drinks, the president took time to thank and acknowledge all the suppliers for their resilience and support of the industry over the years.
We do have to keep reinventing ourselves. We do have to keep getting out there and promoting ourselves. What we do is about conveying ideas, and we need to find more and more ways to show how we can do things to improve the built environment.
The president of TTI says as Trinidad and Tobago continues to develop, the institute is hopeful that it will continue to do its part by producing meaningful content for the local industry. And that's how we wrap up our News 4 report, a product of the Government Information Services Limited and the Ministry of Communication. I'm Joseph Lopez. Thank you for watching.